The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar this week. My name is Tanya, and I'm the marketing manager over here at Struxoft Solutions. So just for those of you who are new with us today, our Star Solution MWF, or Metal Wood Framer, is our Revit-based BIM framing solution that allows users to automate Revit walls, floors, ceilings, and trusses in light-gauge steel and also in wood. So today, however, our technician Marilyn will be doing a short but sweet webinar. She'll be walking users through different ways to add secondary layers to walls using the multi-layer module. So she'll be covering multi-layer project setting dialog box, setting up secondary layer templates, and also applying the secondary layer templates to a wall using different methods. So just before we get going, I'd like to remind everyone that at the end of the webinar, we'll be taking a couple of live questions. In order to be selected, please press the raise hand button on the dashboard. Just please also make sure that your mic is working correctly. If you'd prefer, you can also ask questions throughout the webinar in the questions tab of the GoToWebinar dashboard. You can type them in right there. For those questions, we'll make sure to get back to you by email within 24 hours. All right, that's it for me. I'm going to hand off to Marilyn now.
Hello, everyone. So like Tanya was saying, we're going to go over the methods of secondary layer. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create secondary layer templates. And by doing that, we're going to go into where we have the wall multi-layer. We're going to go into the settings. And this setting dialog box is where you will set up the mapping for the quick create. And also create your secondary layers, your opening types for the secondary layer, and also your sheeting templates. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to hit the secondary layer tab, and you'll see, because I am using Suite, we do give you the option for both light gauge and wood. So I'm going to take the wood, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit create, and I'm going to create a new template. So I'm going to name it furry. I'm going to hit OK. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it, and I'm going to hit modify. So in this dialog box, you see that you have available features here. So with our secondary layer, you have the option to put blocking, top track, bottom track, your end studs, you have your opening types, your verticals, and you also have nailing patterns. So for this example, we're going to use the furring. So I'm going to select it, and I'm just going to pull it to the other side. I'm going to select it, and here are the settings for the furring layer. So you have single vertical, rotated, sorry. So that's the one I'm going to be using. Here's the family that you're going to be using for that. So I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom till I see my 1x3. And you also have the option for an angle. By default, we give it a 45 degree. However, if you do want to have your furring at a 90 degrees, we would suggest you to use the verticals. Here you have your spacing. So you have your first offset, your last offset, and then the spacing in between. Please note that the spacing is going to be starting from the bottom of your panel going up. So I'm going to hit OK. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the furring selected, and I'm going to hit copy. I'm going to create a new one. And I'm going to name this one vertical. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to select it again, and I'm going to hit modify. You'll notice that we already have a furring layer here. The reason for that is because we have copied the furring one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that one. I'm just going to pull it to the other side. And I'm just going to go down to where I have the verticals. For this template, I'm going to have verticals, and I'm also going to have openings. So for the openings, you'll see if I select it, you have markers for windows, doors, and openings. You can see by default, we give you a box. If we go here to the edit type, this will bring us to the same option that we have here, the opening type. So you can create your markers before you start creating your templates. If you are doing your templates and you realize that you need to create a new opening type, you can just hit the edit type and it will bring you to the same option. So in here, we have a couple of them. We have do not frame. It will not frame the openings. However, it will still respect the openings and it still see it. So it will not have any members going through it. However, there's not going to be no additional members. You have frame through. That will completely ignore your opening. You have a box. You have kings only. And then we have the default wood opening. So for this case, I'm going to select the box. I'm going to hit copy. I'm going to name it. I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to hit still have it selected, hit modify. And then here you have some tabs for your headers, sills, and verticals. And you do have the option to turn off if needed. And you also have the option to say, you know, for my horizontal members, for your headers and sills, I want to select or use the same family as my horizontals. In this case, I have just came in here and I've changed the families to a 2x3. And then the last one is the cutbacks. So we're going to hit save, save. And then here, if I hit the pull down, you'll see there is that box I just created. So that's the one I'm going to be selecting for all of my openings. After that, we're going to go into the vertical. So again, you have the same options, single or single rotated. We're going to say single rotated for this one. I'm going to select the type of family I want. Again, I'm going to select that 2x3. You have your cutbacks. So again, with the verticals, you don't have to put a top or bottom track. You can just have vertical members, and you can also have it cut back to the top track of your core layer. So that's what I'm going to do. You also have the option to put an extension and also cope if needed. And then when it comes to the spacing, you have two options. You have the regular spacing, you have your first offset, and then the spacing after that. Again, because it doesn't give you the option, it's always going to be from the bottom up. Or you have an option to state you want your verticals to follow your core layer, your structural members. So here by default, we have all your members selected. But if you don't want, let's say, for example, your verticals to follow your end verticals or your, let's say, jack studs, you just wanted to place ones on your kings, your joint studs, your cripples, and just your vertical members, you would just have them checked. Anything that's not checked is not going to get an additional member. By default, we always place it in the center of the member, aligned with the center. However, you do have the option to put an extra offset if needed. So I'm going to hit OK. And if I hit the sheeting tab, you see that I've already created one. If I did hit the modify, you'll see here, this is your general settings, what family you're going to be taking for your sheeting, if you want to have any extensions, if you want to put a prefix, how it's going to behave around openings, if there's any tolerance, if you're breaking, your sheeting at opening bays, or be completely or ignoring them. The sheeting layouts. So again, these are the ones that we have, and then these are the members that are going to align to. And you also have the option to start with a half sheet instead of a full sheet. And then the last one is the nailing pattern. I'm going to hit OK. So now that I have my secondary layers and the sheeting already created, what I want to do now is I want to associate them to our Revit walls so that I can use the Quick Create. So to do that, we're going to go into the wall type manager. We're going to scroll down. The first one I'm going to do is the exterior brick for wood stud. So you see in this case here, I already have my core layer already associated, and the same thing for my sheeting. What I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to take this substrate right here and I'm going to associate my verticals to it. So to do that, you're going to hit D none. This dialog box is going to pop up. You're going to select the secondary, and you're going to select the verticals, and you're going to hit select. So you could do that for any of the layers that you want in that wall. We're going to hit the pull down, and this is a list of all the wall types that we have in there. You can also use the search here for the wall type that you need. Just going to scroll down because this is the one that I want to do. So here I have my sheeting already there. Same thing for my core layer. Here, I like to put those furring. So again, I'm going to do the same method. Select it, select that furring, and hit select. If I do scroll up just a little tad bit, this is another wall that I have. You can see that it's already set up with 2 sheetings on each side. So we have done that portion. So what we're going to do is we're going to select it. We're going to select these 2 walls, or these 3 walls, sorry. My apologies. And then we're going to select this one here too. We're going to go into the MWF tab. We're going to go into operations and we're going to hit the quick create. So currently what's happening right now, it is looking at the mapping that we have done, and it is framing our core layer. It is going to be framing our secondary layers, and it's also going to be framing our sheeting layer. So you can already see in this case right here, this is my core layer, that's my sheeting, and that is my furring right here. So currently right now it's creating, it's almost finished our 3rd panel. So this one has a couple of options, a few layers on there, so it's taken just a little bit longer. But right now it's just finishing up there. So you can see if I kind of zoom in there, you have the vertical layer here, you have the core layer, and then you have the sheeting right here. Same thing over here. Core layer, you have your sheeting, and then we have the furring right here. And then here we have sheeting on both sides. So that's how you would set up your secondary layers using the quick create. However, in this case here, I already have a panel here. So I want to convert this panel into a multi-layer panel. So to do that, you need to select the Revit wall. We're going to go into MWF. We're going to go into operations, and we're going to scroll down to where it says add secondary. You're going to notice that the panel labeled will move. That's okay, because as soon as we regenerate, it will go back to its original location. Still having the wall selected, we're going to go into the operations and we're going to hit wall properties. If this dialog box does pop up, that means that you have done the secondary layer command properly. And from here, what we're going to do is we're going to add our layers. So I'm going to select this one here where it says none. I'm going to take the sheeting, select the sheeting, and hit select. Same thing for the other layer too. Now you'll notice that because we have selected the layers, it is locked. It doesn't have an option for the edits. And the reason for that is you can modify the, could be secondary layer or sheeting in this case here. You can modify the template, and all you have to do to the your panels is just regenerate it because it has that lock option there. However, let's say you do need to modify the sheeting here. All you have to do is just unlock it or uncheck it, sorry, and you'll notice it does become an instance. If we do hit edit, it'll bring you to the instance template of that layer. If you do want to relock it again, all you have to do is hit instance and then select the template again. We're going to hit OK. And what's going to happen now, it is just going to apply our sheeting to this panel. If I just, let's say, scroll over here, you can see that the sheeting stops at the core center of this member. And the reason for that is how the template is set up. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into a 3D view just to look at these walls. So if I just zoom in here, you can see that we have our vertical members. If I scroll to the other side here, you have your sheeting here. There is our diagonal furring, and the same thing over here too. We have the sheeting, and if I zoom to the other side here, you can see we have the sheeting there too. So for this webinar, we went over how to set up secondary layers and how to associate them to your wall types and how to apply them using the secondary layer to current existing wall panels.
Awesome. Thank you, Marilyn. So as I mentioned, it was a pretty short but sweet webinar, but we'd like to open the floor now to all of you. So if you'd like to pose a question live, please raise your hand now by clicking on the hand icon in the control panel. Just please also make sure that your audio is working correctly. And just while we wait for any questions to come through, I'd just like to remind everyone that the recording of the presentation will be sent through tomorrow. As always, please feel free to share the recording with any colleagues. And if you're looking for the recording a little earlier, you can usually find it at the end of the day across our social media channels. So I'll just give it a couple of seconds, see if anything comes through. All right, well, that looks like it's a wrap for today. For any questions or any follow-up questions, rather, after we close the session, please feel free to reach out to us. Our contact details for our sales team as well as our support team will be provided along with a recording tomorrow. You can also reach out to set up a one-on-one demonstration. We'd be happy to get that set up for you. All right, we'll now be ending the webinar. I just want to say a big thank you to Marilyn and also thank you to everyone who registered. Have a great day.
Have a nice day.